But it was literally, this show is so, I was telling Brian, I sang at the Braves game yesterday, did the 7th inning stretch, and I sit up on the dugout. I'm telling you, so many people were yelling, "The Machine!"
Wow.
It's so fucking bizarre, right? Cut to last night, the most buckled down people in the front row. Someone yells, "The Machine!" And I said, "I'll tell that story." And she said, "Powerful Bert Kreischer." I went, "Are you fucking kidding me? Powerful Bert Kreischer!" And I just talked to you on the phone. I just talked to you on the phone, and you had just said something like,
"Powerful Bert Kreischer."
And I went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, it's bizarre because you cannot put a finger on who is like the fan of the podcast, you know?
I had some old lady at the airport tell me she loves it.
So many people listen to the guy at Travel Channel, Andy Singer, my boss. He's like, "I just want to catch you before you hop on the Rogan podcast." I'm like, holy shit. I was like, how many have you listened to? It's insane. I had to call you from New York when I was coming home from Letterman, because when I sat down in the Letterman dressing room, all the stories they had were like, can you tell the time? Remember the story you told on Rogan's podcast? All I say to Igor in Russian is, "I am the machine." They're all literally pulled from this podcast. And I went, holy shit.
One of the reasons why this podcast is so successful is because there is no bullshit going on in this podcast. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of stoner talk. But every fucking thing that I say because I believe it, or I'm being honest about my thoughts. There's not a lot of people that are thinking like that in this world. There's not a lot of people who have the luxury with their job to be honest about their points of view all throughout the day. Not to say that this is why we're doing it, but I hear it all the time that this podcast changes the way people think. You know, having a guy like you in my life has definitely changed the way I think. You know, all of us together, we help each other. And I'm very happy and very proud that we can put out this resource, not just for entertainment, this podcast, but also it gives you an opportunity to hear another point of view that you might not come in contact with in your life. I don't know too many people like you. You know, it's hard to cultivate them. I've done a real good job of trying to keep as many interesting people in my life as possible because I think it's enriching, and I love conversations with you. We have the craziest fucking conversations. But we have had more on a regular basis since I put together this podcast than we have in the last few years.
I know, that's why I like doing it. That's why I call you up. I'm like, I want to do your podcast so we can hang out and talk.
And it's cool that what we're doing, the way we're doing it too, is there's never been a time in my career ever where I could sell a theater or a club or just with, you know, people that I communicate with online.
And it's fun. And you don't
it's fun as fuck, and it's free. It feels like a real honest exchange. Yeah. Like, I like the fact that it doesn't cost anything. I want you to just, we're having fun, enjoy this shit. Yeah. And you know, and I think it does good. It sets out a good mindset. If you have a podcast where you can get out there to people, a way of thinking that's not necessarily mainstream. Did you listen to you didn't listen to Bruce Lipton?
I didn't.
It was really interesting. He was on the podcast yesterday, and one of the things he was talking about was the importance of creating a community, like a good community of people. You feed off their energy, and those people that you're around, you feed off their energy. You know, if they're positive, you'll actually feel better. You'll have a more positive life.
Right.
And it totally makes sense.
Totally.
Right? Well, you learn techniques of thinking too. You know, that's one of the things that people always comment on this podcast. I get emails and tweets and where people are always talking about how, you know, they don't know anybody that thinks the way they think. They don't have anybody that has the interest or who looks at things in just the raw, honest, black and white view that you see. And here's my perceptions, and it's not flavored by what's politically correct, and it's not flavored by what's thought to be acceptable behavior. It's what I really think, and I want to know if you think the same thing.
Right.
And when you do that, it resonates with people. They don't know anybody else who's doing that.
My evolution sped up because I'm constantly getting amazing videos, book recommendations, basic things from
links,
people.
Twitter links,
all the
crazy
time.
stories.
So it's certainly altered me, and for the positive.
And me as well. You know, as I've been a part of it, you create sort of a like-minded group of humans. You know, and that's something that you're a part of, man.
I really believe that if enough people organize using the internet, this rudimentary nervous system that's springing up around a planet, if people start using it in the right way, I think you could turn this fucked up simulator into some kind of amazing new world. Like
you could. And you know what? People complain sometimes that this issue gets brought up more than once on the podcast, but I'll give you a reason for that. You know, and there's a quote it's a genius quote that I've heard for years, but I always forget. Inspiration is like bathing. It's effective, but only for a short period of time. That's why we recommend it every day.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
And inspiration, in this form of reiterating things that you and I already believe in and already know. Because it's important to keep ourselves on this frequency. People can find things that resonate with them and create things that resonate with them. If you don't have a means of broadcasting to other humans and letting people know. Nowadays, you could write one fucking true Twitter post and it gets retweeted to 1 million people.
Yeah.
And that idea is out there, man. One blog entry that gets retweeted and that idea becomes out there. You never had the opportunity to organize people before like you can today. So now people can do things and find things that resonate with them. Well, you haven't been here since that Anthony Weiner guy.
Yeah, Anthony Weiner.
Are we really? I mean, is this a real life thing or is this a movie? As things go on, the concept of life as a hologram or life as some sort of a computer simulation, it sounds great and funny and, like, wow, that's crazy, but what if? But every now and then, a thing like this Anthony Weiner, his last name is unmistakable. And the idea that guy would get into some dick situation.
People make fun of my name all the time. When your name Weiner, you kind of get that.
It almost feels like we're being fucked with. It feels like as, the end of time rolls closer and closer, reality is getting so fucking weird that it almost is begging us to not take it seriously anymore. But have you seen Michelle Bachmann?
I know about the Gacy gaff.
How about her fucking husband is gay as shit, allegedly homosexual? I'll let the people decide.
You have to understand, barbarians need to be educated. They need to be disciplined.
My God, he seems gay. Why is it so hard for people to accept that people are gay? What do you give a fuck? They're gay. So what? You gonna pray it away? We're gonna pray the gay away. Pray the gay away.
You know about her John Wayne Gacy, the thing she did with John Wayne Gacy?
No.
Like John Wayne was from Waterloo, Iowa. That's the kind of spirit that I have.
I think this whole world is a fucking illusion. I think it's just a really complicated, fantastically created figment of your imagination. You're living your figment, I'm living my figment, and they all combine together in some sort of a weird fucking quantum physics soup. That's what I think. The older I get and the more pot I smoke, the slipperier reality gets, folks. I'm not buying it anymore.
that is funny to think about. Like, it's just someone fucking with us. Like, let's see if they buy this shit. Really, you couldn't put it together after the Wiener thing. All right, keep going.
Control.
It's like the Truman Show. We just didn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm. It's just way more complex.
About it today.
We have asked for it back.
It was a great Hunter S. Thompson quote that light became immeasurably better once I was forced to stop taking it seriously. Really, we have to accept at some level that we are temporary organisms. If you find something, it could be anything, but if you find something that agrees with your personality and you're passionate about it and you pursue it, there's goodness in that. There's certainly goodness in creating new solar panels. There's also good in everything, man. There's good in being a badass soccer player.
Right.
People want to watch some fucking Diego Maradona motherfucker who kicks the goal in when it's a really close game and this fucking guy manages to wiggle through and knock one in, or when someone, some Michael Jordan character shoots that three-pointer to win the game. And
Michael Jordan, they always say he holds the statistic for hitting the most last-minute winning shots. Okay, guess what? He also holds the statistic for missing the most game-winning shots.
I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
He's a fascinating subject to me. I follow him very closely.
Do you?
Yes, very closely. Because I'm obsessed with extreme winners. Because I think there's a madness to it. And I truly believe that in order to be truly great at something, you have to give in to a certain amount of madness. There's a madness to them, to all of them, every single one of them. And Michael Jordan is an extreme one. And how much can you manage that madness? I don't know. But guess what? If you want to be that guy flying through the fucking air with your tongue out in front of the baddest motherfucking basketball players in the world and kicking shit on a level that they've never seen before, before? Dr. J, suck my dick, stupid. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to fly through the air. How about that? How about I'm going to do some shit that nobody's ever done? I'm going to hit some fucking layups that's going to have all you white bitches scratching your head. When you see things like that, anything you see, it's a beautiful painting, whether it's, some book that you read that really fucking was gripping, you couldn't put it down. All those things enhance life. They all create bursts of energy. Some definitely, you look in in terms of the greater good for humanity, some will definitely be better. It's much better to create a great solar panel than to write a dick joke. As long as you're doing what you want to do. If there's one thing that you can harp on in this life, is that don't do a bunch of shit that you don't really want to do because you're not sure if you can do what you want to do, because if you do what you want to do, it's hard and you might not make it, and fuck, man, that's just, you're gonna live a life of second guessing and failure, and you're never gonna believe in yourself. You're gonna know that you never went after the one thing that you really truly wanted. Whatever the fuck it is, man, whether it's being a solar panel scientist, whether it's being a guy who writes classical music, whatever the fuck it is, man, you just gotta find what that thing is. For some people, though, it's hard to find. You're stuck in some shitty fucking town, there's nothing to do, everybody around you's retarded. That becomes an issue.
The thing you gotta start with doing, even if you're not a comedian, you gotta start carrying a notebook around with you, or a little whatever, something to write your thoughts down on, because throughout the day you have really cool thoughts, you have really interesting thoughts.
Some people don't.
I think it's like fishing. Your notebook or your pad of paper is your fishing net for ideas. And if you haven't been fishing for a long time, yeah, you don't have a lot of ideas. But if you just start getting in the habit, don't think you're gonna have amazing ideas every day. You just have sometimes really low level ideas, really simple, basic ideas, or even something you need to take care of. If you start writing that shit down, the bigger ideas start coming, because you got your nets out.
But let's face it, some of those nets are going to be like, Mountain Dew Code Red is good.
Sure, why? Yeah.
It's like people's Twitter feeds, man.
Yeah.
Your Twitter feed is 140 character net. Well, kids in where we live, there's an even trickier element. There's this fucking weird escape clause where you can become famous for nothing and then you get millions. This weird little escape clause. Yeah. And a few people find it and they get through the system, and all of a sudden, look at this person making millions of dollars. Kim Kardashian made something like $60 million last year.
Fucking nuts.
The point is, and you and I both talked about this, and I did get out of here for a little while, moving to somewhere where that's not an influence. Is that even possible anymore, though? Because that influence is sort of all over the country now.
You still got to compete. You still got to fight gravity. You still got to find fulfillment in accomplishment.
It's very dangerous to follow another man's path. The idea is you should do what you're drawn to, not what you think you should be doing. You should do the thing that you're attracted to doing. That's what you're meant to. That's who you are. That's what you're meant to be. You have to begin to ask yourself, which components of my belief system are things that I've arrived to naturally from my observation of nature, and which parts of them are placed into me by a system designed to turn people into consumers. I think that more often or not, a greater percentage of your personality than you would like is not you at all. It's a tapestry that's been cleverly woven by a system designed to make people feel totally normal, spending the majority of their lives driving in a commute and working in a shit job and being tired all the time.
You can make your world a better place, and you are, and we're all making our world a better place. We're all, by being cool to our friends, by surrounding ourselves with positive and interesting, creative, inspiring people, you make your world better by, having good times all the time, because you're always around people where you enjoy each other's company and you feel energized by each other. And by doing that and creating your own immediate small world, and then by doing what we're doing and then broadcasting this ideal and showing your success with this and showing, inspiring people with this, this is not something that requires money. This requires focus and intelligence, honesty and objectivity, but it just requires your energy. It requires you to do it. And we can all do it. We can all surround ourselves with people that are cool and be cool to the people that are around us all the time, and don't take anything less. But could you imagine if there is the possibility, we were talking earlier about this guy Wiener getting busted for pulling his dick out, and how weird it seems that as time goes on, things seem more and more like a movie.
How about it's just a form of university, getting you ready for something. As you get closer and closer to graduation, things become more and more absurd. And waiting at the end of this thing is this hilarious surprise party with all your friends who put you under when the simulator fades out and you blink back into your true existence. Oh, wait, you mean that if I just focused, I could have turned the entire planet into a paradise? And they're like, yeah, that was totally one of the things you could have done. If you wanted to, and you'd focused, used the strength that was inside of you, and you'd managed to project all of your positivity out into the world, you could have transformed this particular planet into a new Garden of Eden. But you decided to write some jokes, which is cool. Hey, next time, we'll do it next time. Maybe it'll work next time.
You're doing more than writing jokes.